Good morning. Welcome to day 150 on the Appalachian Trail. Well, we've got some climbing to do today. Not sure what the elevation is. Of course, it depends on how far we'll go. But 3 or 4 mountains to cross. They're not the tallest mountains, but there's some climbs for sure. And not quite sure how far we'll go. Wound up, it turns out that about 20 people left the hostel yesterday, and the last group to leave didn't leave till nearly noon. A tramley of 9, and they all trickled through looking for a place to camp. A couple of them might have found a camp, but the rest of them had to keep going because there's just very limited room at the shelter area. So we're all going to be competing for spaces to sleep tonight. So we may not be able to hike as far as we wanted just because of the lack of facilities. And even if it weren't crowded here on the trail in the bubble, the shelter would normally target would either be at 15 miles, but it's a half-mile off trail, so that's a very undesirable option. And the next one's not till 21 miles, and with all the people out here, there's a good chance that we wouldn't have a spot when we got there. Maybe not a good chance, but sounds like it has a little more tenting option than last night's shelter had. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully we're going to stay dry today. Neat looking little islands out there. One looks like a castle.
Can't tell that in the picture.
Ooh, another long mud pit. Right. This morning we've been hiking for a little over an hour and a quarter. Hit the 2100 mile mark. 97.4 to go. Made it to the top of Barren Mountain. No need to climb the tower because there's nothing up there. Maybe that's their way of decommissioning it. There's the marker. And the sign. Here's the nature of our morning for the last hour or so after we got off the peak. Mud bog after mud bog. So we take the side trail around. And sometimes those are boggy also. This one's pretty solid. But then you got to come back to the mud. And maybe a second walk around. They brought out more planks, but they need to come back out and finish installing. Interesting, they're all numbered. Guess they're pre-matched maybe. Passing by a plane crash long ago apparently. It's not listed on the app. I don't recall what Poet said. But he did say a father and son were in it and they survived. F looks like the plane's upside down. But considering the way these trees have grown up, and this it fell straight down, it's been a while. Looks like these trees have grown quite a bit. I like this fence that was built to keep you from continuing the wrong direction. Instead, you got to climb up this rock and make a couple of switchbacks, and should be about to that summit. I made it up to Third Mountain. I believe that's referencing the Third Mountain of the Churback Range, but not exactly sure. Other mountains around, some lakes. There's another lake, looks fun to paddle. It's a little windy today. Alright, we made it up Chairback Mountain, and as you saw earlier, the skies are much improved over this morning when we went over the first of the peaks. Alright, we're starting down the descent. They say it's about 0.1 and we're not super high above the trees out there. But they call it the rock slide. I don't know if it's worse than any other rock descents. But it's going to take me a little time. I can see that. I have about a third of a mile to get down to the river. It's 4:15. This will give us about 15 miles. But we'll probably look at the map and assess if we're going to walk a little more or call it for the day. We'd hope to get a little more miles in. But we couldn't do it before, couldn't go any faster. We could get another mile in before 5, but maybe hike to 6. But let's look at the elevation first, see what it's going to be. Alright, we've made it to the river. Hummingbird's just stepping off on shore, and it's time for me to head out. Means I better put the phone away. Wide but shallow river. It's looking like it might be a late night. 6 o'clock now. Sun is going down behind the mountain before long. Got about 3 miles to a shelter. That is not our desired destination. We're hoping to find a still spot on the way, but Tramley of 5 just passed us, and they're also headed to still spots that are listed on the app. So hopefully there'll be one that only fits one tent, and because there's multiple people in their Tramley, hopefully they'll leave it and move on to the bigger spots. But right now we could be walking for a while. And yeah, there's still mud. It's not super bad now, but there's mud. End of day recap. Day 150, we hiked 18.3 miles. We're at a still spot. Here on the shore of a creek. So a pretty nice spot.